Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another Prime Minister's Questions. This is a Snowflake watching along to Prime Minister's Questions. The date and time of this PMQs is the 29th of January, the last of this month, 2025 at 12 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite. Be sure if you're on YouTube to hit the like button, share and subscribe across social media. And if you're on twitch.tv/Reganelite1, make sure you hit that follow button and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I go live on that platform. So we got about a minute or two. Normally, they don't normally do it at 12 o'clock. Here, I wonder if there's going to be any. There probably will be. I know a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the talk has been around. Has been a lot on Donald Trump lately, and understandably so. You know, especially with the recent events about him imposing tariffs on Colombia, and then threatening to impose tariffs on them and then back down. Wonder how much of that effect is going to take place as well. And it has been something that's really dominating a lot of YouTube, because any talk of Trump is news that people are just sinking their teeth into now and just coming to accepting the reality of it. I don't expect any. I don't even actually think we're going to get any of that today from PMQs. I don't think we will. But we will have to wait and see. Just a quick reminder before it starts, I'll be doing a live stream again tonight at 8 p.m. with Snowflake Watch, where we'll be watching and reacting to various clips and videos online, on Twitter mainly, and other, and other platforms. I currently have no plans to do any live streams Thursday or Friday, but that can change, guys.
Number one, please.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Communities across the United Kingdom have been hit hard by Storm Eowyn. I spoke with the leaders of the devolved administrations in Scotland and Northern Ireland over the weekend to work with them on support that's required and to pay tribute to all those responding on the front line. Mr. Speaker, kick-starting economic growth is the number one mission of this government, to put more money in people's pockets and deliver on our plan for change. Today, the Chancellor announced our next steps to deliver the plan for change. A new Oxford-Cambridge corridor, redeveloping Old Trafford and supporting new runway at Heathrow. We're removing the barriers to investment, supporting innovation and going further and faster to boost growth. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Mr. Speaker, this April the state pension will increase by £470 and over the course of this Parliament by up to £1,900, benefiting millions of pensioners. Does the Prime Minister agree that means testing the state pension would do severe harm, and will he confirm that this government will always protect the state pension and the triple lock?
What about the winter fuel payment for those who need it to stay alive during the winters? Have we totally forgotten about them? Oh yes, the state pension. Yes, we're looking after our pensioners while also taking away money from them with the winter fuel payments. Ben Shaw, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Let me be absolutely clear, Mr. Speaker. There will be no means testings of the state pension under this Labour government. We're committed both to the triple lock and to the principle that people should receive pension based on their contribution, regardless of their wealth. And he's right to say 12 million pensioners receiving £470 increase in April. And when people like the Leader of the Opposition say they want means testing, that means a cut. The difference is they cut pensions, we're increasing them.
Leader of the Opposition, can be better.
Oh dear.
Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to solemnly commemorate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, and we remember the 6 million Jewish men, women and children who were murdered. The Holocaust stands as a unique evil in human history.
No, let's not mention the evil that is within the Israeli government. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that, guys. Let's keep that quiet because they don't want us to talk about that.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the Prime Minister set his growth test. He said if a policy is good for growth, the answer is yes. If it's not, the answer is no. This morning, the Chancellor embraced a series of Conservative policies. Although many are welcomed, they will take years to deliver. Mr. Speaker, when Conservatives left office, we had the fastest economic growth in the G7.
Oh dear.
But what is the government doing for growth now? It's destroying it. Let's look at the employment bill. The government's own figures say it will cost business £5 billion a year. It clearly fails the Prime Minister's growth test. Will he drop it?
Mr. Speaker, I think the proposition they left a golden inheritance was tested on the 4th of July, which is why they're standing there. But she asked what we're doing. The ONS say we've got the highest investment for 19 years. PwC, second best place to invest in the world. IMF upgrading growth, predicted fastest growing major economy in Europe. Wages up, inflation down. Mr. Speaker, there's more to do. We're reforming planning and regulation, building the new homes that we need, supporting a third runway at Heathrow. And as she admitted to the CBI in November, there's no point me just complaining about Labour, she said. It's obvious that we Conservatives lost the confidence of business. We're not taking lectures from them.
I mean, like, he just kind of pretty much threw it back in Kemi's face with all that. I mean, you just can't... Yeah, she's not looking very smart here.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't want to talk about the employment bill because he doesn't know about it. Last week, he misled the House. He was not on top of his own education bill, listening to
Sorry. We can't accuse the Prime Minister of misleading the House. No. Well, he can't do it. I'm sure there's words that you would prefer to use.
Mr. Speaker, last week he claimed to have laid down an amendment that he had not made. He doesn't know what is going on in here or out there.
Doesn't she know the rules? Clearly she doesn't.
Last week, I spoke to a woman running a business in Exeter. She is terrified of taking on new staff. She is struggling to keep her head above water, dreading what this government will do next. She's not alone. The Federation of Small Businesses says 92% of small employers are concerned about the employment bill. Clauses 1 through 6 make it harder for business to hire new employees, often young people looking for their first job. This isn't an employment bill, it's an unemployment bill. Given these clauses, will he drop his bill and show that he is not anti-growth?
My God, dude, Kemi was awful there. She was botching it at the end there. Blimmin' heck. She's lost it. Doc Davis, good to see you there. When will they talk about the cheeseburger bill? It's not. I don't know about that. You have to write to your MP on that one. Oh dear.
Mr. Speaker, we believe in giving people proper dignity and protection at work. That's why we're proud of our record supporting workers. They consistently vote against any protection for working people. And her consistent refrain is that there should be less. But, Mr. Speaker, we are driving growth on behalf of working people. Good work rights are consistent with growth, and every good business knows that. And on top of the planning reform, the building of the houses, supporting aviation, the Chancellor this morning spoke of the Oxford-Cambridge growth corridor, redeveloping Old Trafford, manufacturing at East Midlands Airport. We want to grow the economy. The only policy she's got is to shrink pensions.
Mr. Speaker, all his ideas are the ones that we thought of. He needs to make sure that we deliver for growth now as well as the future.
That's what he's bloody doing. Is it perfect? No. This is just absolute. This is nonsense. This is not working. And she's saying that they stole ideas. You didn't even fund half of your ideas. Your party did when we were in power. This is so embarrassing.
To grow our economy, we must get more people off sickness and welfare and into work.
Oh, here we go.
Clauses 8 and 9 of the unemployment bill take us in the opposite direction by increasing entitlements. His government itself estimates that these changes will increase business costs from £600 million to £1 billion a year in sick pay. That will mean higher prices, fewer jobs, less growth. Will he drop these measures from the bill?
No, Mr. Speaker, I think they're good for workers and good for growth. This is the same argument they made against the minimum wage and every protection for workers. And she says they're their ideas. Mr. Speaker, she says she's in support of a third runway at Heathrow. Her shadow transport secretary says that it would be calamitous. The shadow business secretary is busy writing letters opposing airport expansion in his own backyard. Shadow chief secretary says the Oxford-Cambridge idea is flawed and he's against it. We're the coalition of builders, they're the coalition of blockers.
It's very good.
Mr. Speaker, he forgets his own Chancellor blocked an airport in her constituency. They are hypocrites, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about this employment bill. Part 1 of the bill means a new employee could start a job in the morning and take their employer to a tribunal that afternoon. It is no wonder that this bill has been called an adventure playground for lawyers. This bill is terrible for business, but it is great employment for lawyers. I know the Prime Minister loves the legal profession, but he needs to stop being a lawyer and start being a leader.
Oh my days.
This is another measure in the bill that fails his growth test. Will he show some leadership and drop it?
You're going to keep asking the same question over and over again, just going to keep getting the same damn answer.
Mr. Speaker, I understand she likes straight talking. She's talking absolute nonsense. She knows, and anybody who understands anything about the bill or any employment law will know you can't start in the morning and go to the tribunal in the afternoon. Now, Mr. Speaker, we know she's not a lawyer. She's clearly not a leader. If she keeps on like this, she is going to be the next lettuce.
Mr. Speaker, he does not know what his bill is doing. He should listen to business who are terrified of this bill. The only workers he cares about are lawyers, but it is not just lawyers benefiting from this bill. Who else benefits? It's not taxpayers. They will be paying for even more welfare. It's not young workers. They won't get their first break. It's definitely not businesses. They are being hammered with yet more burdens. Who benefits, Mr. Speaker? It's
unions.
Who benefits? It's the trade unions.
Of course.
It's the trade unions. Part 4 of the unemployment bill, Part 4, they haven't read it, Part 4 of the unemployment bill is the biggest expansion of trade union powers for a generation.
Increasing workers' rights. What's wrong with that, Kemi? Oh, right, you don't want that.
Exactly. Thank you. The public will have heard them cheer. Rather than deregulating for business who create growth, he's deregulating for the unions. Clause 61 alone reduces the notice period for strikes to just 1 week. Given strikes are catastrophic for growth, will he drop Part 4 of the bill?
You guys took away the rights of workers by restricting unions, restricting people's rights to strike. My God, this is insane.
Mr. Speaker, it's good for working people and it's good for the economy. And she should keep up. The CBI have welcomed our positive steps this morning. Quotes, the Chancellor's just given a brilliant speech on the economy, fixing the mess they left and growing our economy. CBI said they celebrate their positive leadership, a clear vision to kickstart our economy. That's the difference. We're growing the economy. They left it in a complete mess.
Oh my day.
Mr. Speaker, the arrogance of the Prime Minister is that he thinks that it's his government that creates growth. He's wrong. It is business that creates growth. Our economy is built by entrepreneurs, risk takers, and the hard graft of working people. They know that you can't tax your way to growth. You can't borrow your way to growth. You can't legislate your way to growth. Other countries are serious about freeing business from red tape. President Trump is doing it in America. Argentina is taking a chainsaw to regulations. Even the EU is not going as far as this left-wing government. This bill will put us at the bottom of the pack. Added to the jobs tax, the family business tax, it's no wonder wealth creators are fleeing Britain in droves. The Chancellor is desperately trying to save her reputation. She knows Labour have damaged growth. This bill manifestly fails the Prime Minister's own growth test. If he won't drop the unemployment bill, what is the point of his growth tests?
I need to hit some of those points. So first of all, things are about to get a lot worse for Americans in America. Like talking about America doing well. Argentina absolutely is suffering. It's still suffering. Many Argentinians are struggling to make ends meet in the country since the president came to power. They are still struggling now. They're still struggling now. A lot of entitlements and benefits systems that they had in Argentina were taken away. Argentinians have actually died as a direct result of some of the actions that president has done. And you want to go down that same path. Yeah? The actions that Donald Trump is taking right now in America with some of the grants will literally kill Americans. And you want to take us down that same path. You don't know anything at all. Like, I'm not an expert in business, but there's a reason why businesses abandoned the Conservative Party.
She's got a nerve. They broke the economy, completely destroyed it. They broke the health service, completely destroyed it. They ruined us on prisons and everything else you can mention. They failed on every front. They're in no position to give us lectures on anything. And she says that she accepts they failed. They're changing. They've learnt absolutely nothing.
Let's never forget, they will never apologise either. That's the key word as well. Good to see you, Doc Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the government's action last week to tackle rogue traders who installed faulty home insulation, affecting many of my Luton South and South Bedfordshire constituents. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Labour's Warm Homes plan will tackle fuel poverty and bring down bills for families as part of our plan for change?
Well, I thank her for that question. The party opposite have got a lot to answer for in the failing system that we've left behind. We've taken immediate action to ensure consumers insulating their homes are not let down again. We're investing £3.4 billion through our Warm Homes plan to upgrade 5 million homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Red David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I take this opportunity to thank the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, all their work in commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, and say what a privilege it was to meet Holocaust survivors at their Guildhall event. When the honourable member, my honourable friend for North Devon, and I recently visited a hospital in Barnstaple, a surgeon there told us that it was like a ticking time bomb. He explained that a hospital that size needs 12 operating theatres to meet demand. They've got just 4. The last Conservative government promised to rebuild it, and we all know that was a hollow promise. Now the North Devon District Hospital is one of 9 across the country where their urgent rebuild programme has now been postponed for over 10 years. So will the Prime Minister meet honourable members whose constituents' lives are being harmed by this delay to see if there's any way we can bring these urgent projects forward?
That's a very good question, and it's very frightening indeed when something like that is particularly harming people as well.
Well, can I join him in his comments about the Holocaust survivors that we met earlier this week? It was incredibly moving, as it always is, and I was struck by the fact that there were so many in the gathering that we were at, and we're unlikely to see so many in one place like that again, and we must never ever forget. On the question of hospitals, look, I think people across the country are right to feel angry and betrayed and frustrated at the last government's non-plan on hospitals. It was unachievable, it was unfunded, it was empty promises. Under them, these hospitals would never have been built. Our funded plan, backed by the investment we've put in, will deliver them. We will take such steps as we can on hubs, etc., to advance quickly on waiting lists and operations, as he knows, and I'm more than happy to talk or to make sure that all constituents and members can meet relevant ministers.
David.
Mr. Speaker, last week the Prime Minister told me that it was going to take 3 years before social care reforms could be implemented. Now he's saying that urgent hospital rebuilds are going to take more than a decade. My honourable friends and I will keep coming back to this issue. If I can turn to economic growth, the Chancellor has now admitted that we need to go further and faster in the pursuit of economic growth, and we agree. But the Prime Minister knows we believe that means setting aside his objections to a UK-EU customs union, so our country can go further and faster in rebuilding our trading relationships with our European neighbours, especially with the threat to world trade posed by Trump's tariffs and Trump's trade wars. But if he won't change his mind today on a customs union, when he goes to Brussels on Monday, will he confirm to the House that he will open negotiations for the UK to join the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Convention so we can start removing the growth-damaging trade barriers set up by the Conservatives?
He's not going to say yes to that.
Our number one mission is growth. That's why we've set out all the initiatives over the last 7 months, particularly the ones this morning. He knows in relation to the reset with the EU, which we're determined to achieve, that we have clear red lines when it comes to the single market and the customs union. So he knows where we stand on that.
So obviously, as usual, a Brexit question, but no answer there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's Joseph Rowntree Foundation report on UK poverty not only highlights who is most likely to be poor, but also the scale and increase in deep and enduring poverty. I was encouraged by the Prime Minister's response to me before Christmas at the Liaison Committee, where he explained and acknowledged that disabled people experience poverty because of their extra costs, and that while over 2 million disabled people can and want to work, many cannot and should receive adequate support. Many vulnerable claimants are worried following speculation that the £3 billion of savings to be found in the Social Security budget may impact on their disability benefits. Will my right honourable friend agree with me that language matters and that their concerns must be heard?
This is a very, obviously the disabilities of people have been something that has been talked about many, many times, as we know. I know that people have brought up that the cruelty that they felt under the Conservatives, and many people are feeling the same about the Labour when it comes to this particular situation, because we know that the DWP, the job centre in particular, when it comes to signing up for the benefits and the barriers that you have to go through to get them, has been incredibly challenging. And Labour have been using the same kind of language in the terms as the Conservatives, and this is incredibly scary to say the least.
Well, I thank you for raising this, and I know it's an issue that she's deeply concerned about and campaigns on. The rise in poverty, Mr. Speaker, caused by the mismanagement of the economy by the party opposite is unacceptable. Our approach to social security will ensure that work is accessible to as many people as possible as a route out of poverty. Mr. Speaker, that includes the new Connect to Work programme, expected to help 100,000 disabled people find and stay in work.
Gavin Robinson.
Speaker, may I firstly thank the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster for their sterling support over the last number of days for Northern Ireland in the aftermath of Storm AO, and it's greatly appreciated and demonstrates how well the Union works. Mr. Speaker, on the 15th of August 1998, the fragility of peace in Northern Ireland was shattered when the real IRA detonated a bomb in Omagh town. 29 people died, and a further 2 unborn twins never saw this world. Through the dignity and the stoic campaigning of Michael Gallagher, whose son Aidan died, a public inquiry was secured through the courts, who recommended in 2021 that the Irish government should similarly hold an inquiry to understand what could have been prevented, given the cross-border nature of this atrocity. The bomb was prepared in the Irish Republic and transported from the Irish Republic. Will he use his good offices to ensure that truth is delivered and justice arrives for the families of those who so needlessly lost their lives from Irish Republican terrorism?
First, on the question of the storm, can I assure him that we will continue to work with the leaders in Northern Ireland to ensure that we deal with what was really devastating in Northern Ireland for very many people still without power and all the associated problems that are associated with that. In relation to the Omagh bombing inquiry, I thank him for raising this. It was a heinous and cowardly terrorist attack, and it shocked the world. Our thoughts are with the family members now taking part in commemorative hearings this week. I do welcome the Irish Government's commitment to cooperate with the inquiry. The Secretary of State for Northern Ireland has raised with the Irish Government the importance of working together on addressing these and all legacy issues, and I'm grateful for him for raising this very serious and important issue.
Jack Cabot.
Mr Speaker, the Ipswich Northern Bypass is a project of local, regional and national importance, one on which the future of our town and county hinges. But this critical project has been gathering dust for years, repeatedly blocked by people who refuse to act in our long-term interests. The Prime Minister has set out how our government will back the builders over the blockers. Will he now back the builders in my town and make this a project of national significance through our plan for change?
Well, he's been relentless in seeking to boost growth and investment in Ipswich and Suffolk. And the gridlock his constituents face underlines the failure of the party opposite to deal with this when they had the chance to do so. Mr Speaker, we will fast-track decisions on at least 150 major economic infrastructure projects to kick-start growth, and I will make sure he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss the issues of concern to him.
In room.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As my right honourable friend said earlier, last week North Devon District Hospital got the devastating news that investment would be delayed 10 years beyond 2035. In the 5 years since the last government's empty promises, our hospital's maintenance backlog has grown to over £40 million. Given that £200 million has reportedly been spent just on consultancy fees for the new hospital programme, what funding for extra maintenance will be available for those hospitals that now face another decade of waiting?
I thank him for raising this, and his constituents will be angry and frustrated at the empty, unfunded promises left by the Conservatives. Let's be clear, under their non-plan, North Devon District Hospital would simply not have been delivered. It's not been delayed, it was never going to be delivered, and they know it, he knows it, his constituents know it. We have put in place a funded, deliverable plan that will see the hospital built, and will work closely with the Trust to accelerate work. And the party opposite really owe his constituents an apology.
He didn't answer the question. He just kept passing it. This is a continuous thing that we keep seeing, and it's so frustrating, guys. They just keep doing this of blame the Conservatives. We'll set out more in detail, or a bit later on. It's been a lot of that going on in this Prime Minister's questions.
Deirdre Cosson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Children in Ealing Southall will be sleeping on sofas and on living room floors tonight due to 14 years of failure from the Conservatives. Ealing Council has joined over 100 councils trying to remove the barriers to give these kids a decent home to live in, something the party opposite don't seem to care about. As part of the government's plan for change, will the Prime Minister look at the 5 solutions put forward by these councils so we can secure the future of council housing for those children sleeping on the floor tonight?
Well, she's right to raise this very serious issue. We are committed to working with every council to deliver the biggest increase in social and affordable housing in a generation. We're immediately taking action to reform the right to buy, to enable councils to borrow more cheaply, and investing in affordable homes programme.
Paul Kohler.
Didn't even address, kids sleeping, that should have been addressed right there on the spot, and it wasn't. That's terrible. That's terrible. We're normalising this. We are normalising this. This is wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I entered active politics, after an attack in my home was misused by others to promote their anti-EU, anti-immigrant agenda. My life was saved by 2 brave police officers from Wimbledon Police Station. As a family, our lives were transformed by a restorative justice session organised by the charity Why Me, where we met one of my 4 attackers in prison. Will the Prime Minister meet with me to discuss how his government can give restorative justice greater emphasis and put victims at the centre of the criminal justice system, reduce recidivism and cut crime and costs?
Can I send my sympathy for what the honourable member experienced? It must have had a profound impact on him and, of course, on his family. I too have seen the power of restorative justice, which does enable victims to receive answers, and perpetrators have to face the human cost of their crimes. Under the Victims Code, all adult victims must be told about restorative justice and how to access it. We can always do more, and I'll ensure that he gets the meeting that he wants with the relevant minister.
Charters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to announce that this summer I'll be going on paternity leave again for baby number 2. And may I congratulate the Secretary of State for Scotland on his new arrival. The Chancellor spoke brilliantly this morning on growth, and I'm pleased to reveal that new JRF research shows that by increasing paternity leave, we could increase economic growth by £2.6 billion a year. So can I ask the Prime Minister, will he review statutory paternity leave? And from one father to another, will he meet with me and the Dad Shift to support and discuss how we can support new parents?
A very good question.
Well, can I wish him and his wife all well with their new arrival? We are conducting a review into parental leave because you can't grow the economy if parents have to choose between work and their children. And thanks to the Employment Rights Bill, which they oppose opposite, 30,000 more fathers will get paternity leave. And that's the difference, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition wants to roll back parental rights. We're extending them.
Duffield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since 2012, the Drax power station has been given £7 billion of green subsidies by the government for burning 27 million trees per year. That's enough money for 5 years of pensioners' winter fuel payments. While Ofgem has been asleep at the wheel, a recent KPMG report has concluded that Drax claimed those subsidies illegally. Will the Prime Minister today demand to see that KPMG report before giving another £1 of taxpayers' money to Drax?
Thank you for raising this. It is an important issue. Of course, we will look at the report, but I don't join in her description. We will look at the report.
Back day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you well know, Lancashire is a wonderful county full of great businesses and hard-working people. But for too long, we've been held back by an outdated 2-tier council system. The government's English devolution bill is a massive opportunity for us to get back in the fast lane and catch up with the likes of Manchester and Liverpool. So will the Prime Minister join with me in calling on all Lancashire leaders to work together in the interests of our residents, putting aside political differences and self-interests, and move forward in good faith to unleash Lancashire's huge potential?
Well, he, of course, has given decades of service to his community, Mr. Speaker. I'm a firm believer in moving power out of Westminster into the hands of those with skin in the game. That's how you boost growth, create opportunities and drive reform. I'm pleased that we're establishing a combined county authority in Lancashire. Our ambition is for mayors across all areas of England who can take advantage of the powers set out in the devolution white paper, including in Lancashire.
Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I declare my interest as the Governor of the Royal Berkshire Hospital and a family member has shares in the medical company. In the gallery today are patients who use the Royal Berkshire Hospital. Parts of its estate are crumbling as we speak, and it urgently needs a rebuild, but we're going to have to wait until at least 2037. Can the Prime Minister please explain to these visitors and the House why he thinks that it is acceptable that staff and patients dodge buckets collecting rainwater from leaking roofs for another 18 years? And will he meet with them and explain it to them face to face?
Blame the Tories, da da da, it's the Tories' fault, this, that and the other. That's what he's essentially going to say.
Well, I'm grateful to him for raising this on behalf of his constituents, so to speak, obviously to them, and his constituents will hear the answer. There wasn't a plan for this building. It was a pretend plan, it was a fiction. It was unfunded and it was undeliverable. It only existed in the head of Boris Johnson. And the frustration for his constituents, and I really understand it, is they thought, because they were promised, that they were going to get something which the party opposite knew was never going to be delivered. That is absolutely unforgivable. We will pick that up. We've put in place a funded scheme to build as quickly as we can, but it's got to be funded, it's got to be deliverable. That's the difference between the approach that we're taking and the approach that they took. And of course I'll make sure a relevant minister meets with him and his constituents in order to explain that more fully to them.
So he won't, but at least, okay, I'll grant him that at least he will get the relevant minister to speak to him. I'll grant him at least that. Dave McGuinness, it's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In China, DeepSeek has developed an AI model almost as good as the most advanced technology from OpenAI. In the US, they're investing up to $500 billion in building out data centres. Now, to build data centres, you need two things: lots of energy and ideally cold weather. Fortunately, Scotland has both of those in abundance. So will the Prime Minister back Glasgow being an AI growth zone to help bring investment and solidify the UK's place as the third largest AI market on earth?
Yeah. Well, I thank my honourable friend. What a contrast, the SNP, a strong Labour voice championing economic growth in Scotland. The AI developments this week show why we're right to put artificial intelligence at the heart of our plan for change. We've already secured £39 billion of AI investment, which will create 13,000 jobs across the UK. I agree with him that Scotland has real potential for AI growth zones. I'll make sure that he gets to meet with the relevant minister to discuss.
John Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency of Horsham, my local council faces a £500,000 tax bill from the rise in national insurance, and my local hospice, St Catherine's, has had to mothball a brand new ward. What message does the Prime Minister have for all the public services that are outright losers at the hands of the very tax that's supposed to save them?
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for him for raising this, as he knows the settlement to local councils was an increase this year, so they have more money to deal with the problems they face. They were underfunded, broken by the last government. We've now put that support and that funding in place. That's the right thing to do.
Didn't answer the
Thank you very
question.
much, Mr. Speaker. It was such great news when the government decided that it was right to pay compensation to the LGBT veterans who'd unfairly lost their jobs. Yeah. But unfortunately, they're not alone. There are others who've been prepared to lay down their lives on behalf of the country who have also been treated disgracefully. I include in that list my constituent who was sacked from MI6 simply for being gay. Would my right honourable friend please commit to righting that wrong and for meeting my constituent?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful to her raising this really important issue. All those who serve our country deserve our fullest respect and gratitude. Mr. Speaker, that's why we're righting the historic wrongs inflicted on LGBT veterans, already significantly increasing compensation available and enabling them to get their ranks restored. I know the issue she's raised is a real issue to the Foreign Secretary. He's looking at it, and I'll make sure she gets to talk to him about it, but we do need to deal with this historic injustice. She's right about that.
Jim Allister.
Given the strategic commitment to Irish unity in the programme for government of the new government in Dublin, can I ask the Prime Minister whether he and his government have a strategic and economic interest in retaining Northern Ireland within the United Kingdom? And if they do, why then is he continuing with a system whereby, in over 300 areas of law in the economic sphere, Northern Ireland is subject not to UK law, but to the same laws that apply in the Irish Republic, laws we don't make and can't change?
Jim. Why, Mr. Speaker, are you giving this man a voice? We've had him too recently. Let someone else speak instead, please, please. Mithril, thank you so much for being a member for 4 months. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your work. And thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Even if you're popping in, I appreciate it.
Mr. Speaker, we're proud of and totally committed to the Good Friday Agreement. And Northern Ireland matters to this government. It matters to me. He will know I worked there for 5 years with the police service in Northern Ireland. I want to see Northern Ireland secure, safe for all communities and thriving in the future. And I believe that it can be. We'll be doing everything to make sure that it does.
He's not going... like, if the people of Northern Ireland want to be a part of the rest of Ireland, that is them to decide, not for the Prime Minister or for you, Jim, to make that point. And that same concept should apply to Scotland as well, for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary of the loss of Royal Air Force aircraft X-Ray Victor 179 and the 10 UK service personnel that were killed on board. Known to their friends as Steady, Smudge, Gary Nick, Pards, Gibbo, Richie, Bob, Dave, Jonesy and Paddy. These people were killed on a routine flight between Baghdad and Balad as a result of a poorly protected aircraft. This was the largest single loss of life in the Iraq War. Would the Prime Minister join with me to thank and recognise our service personnel for their service and their sacrifice, and the stoicism of their family as we join to commemorate such a tragic moment?
I can understand that he's fairly new, but can I recommend, obviously, for him, you know, that when you are doing this, to practice in front of a mirror 1,000 times. I'm just going to recommend that. But he got it out in the end.
Well, I thank him for reminding the House of this case, and I know that condolences of the whole House remain with the families of these brave soldiers. We will never forget the vital role they played to support the coalition operation in Iraq. Can I thank him and pay tribute to his service? We are immensely proud of our armed forces and their courage and dedication as they keep our country safe.
Let's be very clear here. None of us support the... well, I can't speak for you guys, but I did not support the Iraq War in any way, shape or form. It should never have happened. We should never have sent our soldiers there. And Tony Blair, as far as I'm concerned, is a criminal for sending our soldiers over there for looking for weapons of mass destruction that were never there in the first place. Let's be very clear about that.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister may know that this time last week, representatives of those who've been injured seriously by COVID vaccines were giving evidence to the COVID inquiry, including my constituent Kate Scott. I hope he also knows that the compensation available to those people isn't adequate and isn't adequately accessible. I'm grateful to the Health Secretary for the thought I know he is giving to how that position may be remedied. But can I ask the Prime Minister to give his personal support to that objective? Not just because it's the right thing to do for the people affected, but also because it will support the objective we should all share to maintain public confidence in vaccination.
Yes.
Well, thank you for raising this, and as he says, the Health Secretary is looking at it, and I can assure him I will also look at it with the Health Secretary, and we will get back to him as we do so.
Rachel Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, I heard a story from an elderly resident in Bedworth. Colin Basra phoned the GP surgery to make an appointment for his elderly wife and was told no appointments would be available for 3 months. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that this is utterly shocking and horrifying and is a direct result of 14 years of neglect by the party opposite?
Yes. Oh dear. Starmer only stands up for democracy when it suits him, not when it is good for the people of this nation. I agree. I agree with that. Indeed. I remember when the New Statesman taking an anti-war stance on Iraq. He wouldn't do that now. Yeah, they've changed their position. I don't listen to the New Statesman anymore, in my personal opinion. But yeah, they've changed their tune, unfortunately.
I thank her for raising it. She's right to raise it. She's absolutely right. The damage they did to the NHS was absolutely unforgivable. We are taking steps to make sure more GP appointments will be available. We're getting the waiting list down, we're putting the investment in the NHS. As with everything else, we're clearing up the mess that they left behind.
Final question, Andrew Rosender.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister should know that my constituents in Romford are shocked, angry and dismayed by the suggestion by the ONS that the population of this country will rise to 72.5 million by 2032. Mr. Speaker, that's 500,000 people a year, which is unsustainable. Who voted for that? And will the government do something to ensure that the population of this country is sustainable going forward? Because there is no mandate for such a colossal increase in immigration in this country.
It's not all down to immigration, you numpty. Oh my days. Remember, there are so many things to unpack with that question before even the Prime Minister answers. Like, they are planning to build more. They are going to build more homes than the Conservatives. I'm confident of that. Will they build the 1.5 million homes? It's unlikely they will hit that target. This is just creating that philosophy that Britain is full, that we can't take any more people in. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. People need to stop buying into that premise. They really, really do. I cannot stress that enough.
I think he should talk to his leader. Because net migration went through the roof under the last government. Nearly 1 million, quadrupled. And who was cheering it on? Who was cheering it on? The leader of the opposition. His constituents are right to be concerned about the loss of control by the last government. We're taking control. We will bring these numbers down. But the record is absolutely clear, and it sits right there.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
Best thing about Prime Minister's questions is the cute dog in the house. That is the only thing that is good about Prime Minister's questions, because I do love seeing that dog. That's the only thing. And he's absolutely right to throw it on the Conservatives on that one. But like, we are seeing this far too much, consistently throwing the wool over the Conservatives time and time again. And like I said, there will get to a point where people are sick and tired of saying, hey, you keep saying the Conservatives, what are you doing? They keep saying we're fixing this, we're fixing that and this. People are gonna get impatient. And then we know that a lot of people are impatient, but people are already becoming impatient and frustrated with this government. But yeah, the increase in population is... It was always going to increase, but we need to be able to meet that demands. Now, obviously, in regards to immigration and migration, we know that a lot of asylum seekers have been deported. A huge number have been deported by the Health Secretary, and those numbers of backlogs they are continuing to work on in terms of that. How many are actually being accepted? We don't actually know. I don't know what the latest figures on those asylum seekers who have been accepted into the UK. I'm not quite sure on that number as of right now, but obviously that plays a factor into the increase. I am actually going to record a video today on the increase in population, so that will be coming out over the next couple of days on that. So I will probably save more of my thoughts on the increase in population for that video there. But the thing is about population increase is that it means more workers, which means that that means that there's striving for creating more work, which means if you have more workers, which means you need to create more jobs for them, which means you can create more money for the economy. So it's supposed to be, more workers and more population is supposed to, in theory, be good for growth, good for the economy, in theory. And I'm not even an economic expert on that. Sixth richest nation in the world, maybe, but our commitment to wealth inequality means we can't afford to increase our population. And as you rightfully say, we have inequality in this country, something that Gareth Stevenson, Gary's Economics, has consistently pointed out, and we don't talk enough about it, and that is the inequality for people, and it is far, far unbalanced. You're absolutely right. Inequality is not something we talk enough about, not just in the UK, but in the world specifically as well. So guys, I will be back at 8 o'clock tonight with a Snowflake watch. or watch and react to certain clips and that online. Let me know what you guys thought of Prime Minister's questions down in the comments below. What you guys think of it? Let me know your thoughts. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was good as I think last week's was a bit more interesting, if I'm honest. But I think Kemi didn't really make herself look good at all with her attacks at all. I think Keir Starmer handled it pretty well. I thought Ed Davies' questions were pretty solid as well. Wasn't happy about one or two answers to Keir Starmer on some other points as well there. But not really. There was not. I think there was only one, maybe two Conservatives got to speak, got to ask questions. And we had quite a few Lib Dems. I think we had one SNP, one SNP, and we had obviously Jim Alistair, God help us all, speaking as well. But yeah, I'll be back tonight with the last live stream, unless of course we may have another one tomorrow, possibly, but we'll see. But just before I go, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate, and share us across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.